Hi, everyone. Welcome to High Returns for Real Estate Investors, Chicagoland Real Estate. I'm Melinda Cabanilla, and I'm so fortunate to be joined by Ching Kao, who is out of Winchester, Massachusetts, and she's the
Hi,
owner
everyone.
of Firebeat Ballroom Studio. So, Ching, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks for having me, Melinda. So we actually go way back. We met in Winchester. I own a ballroom studio there with my husband, my other half. Actually, he should be here because the identity of the studio is both my husband, Andre, and myself. Again, we have a ballroom studio called Firebeat, and we teach ballroom dancing there. Yeah. So
Wonderful.
that's a little bit about me or what I do.
And what is the road you took to get to starting your story or your studio? Can you tell us?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a long story and a short story. How much time do we have? Okay, I guess my husband and my love story is embedded with the ballroom story, and also my individual story takes us to where we are now. So I guess I'll start with me. I wasn't always a ballroom dancer. I know. Don't get deceived by the crows. I used to be super geeky, super nerdy, and I'm a scientist by trade. So I have a PhD in cognitive neuroscience at Stanford. But I was always in love with dancing. I was dancing all my life. And I think there's something, at least in my tribe, the Asian tribe, where your profession, work feels like work. So it's something that you work hard for. The things that are your hobby, that's your play, things you enjoy doing, that's kind of you do on the side. It's your side hustle. So, you do the safe thing, you kind of go through school. And I really loved being a cognitive neuroscientist. And if I look at all the boxes that checked that profession and this profession, there's a lot of overlap. I've always wanted something in service, that everything that I do is in service of helping someone, making someone's life better. I really like diagnosing things, problem solving. I really like interacting with people. I really like being my own boss and having my own hours. I don't know. I couldn't do the 8 to 5 thing, but know who you are. So a lot of the things that checked what I loved about science, I have now. I just didn't see it in this form when I was so young. You kind of have a list of professions. You have lawyer, doctor. You kind of think in a very small world, and those are very important. I'm just saying I wasn't creative about what my heart wanted, but I was always searching. I came to Boston to do my postdoc at Harvard, and that's when I met Andre, and I was always dancing. And when I met Andre, we fell in love. And somewhere along the way, I was really, really unhappy in science, not because of the community, not because of my colleagues, but because I felt like what I did didn't matter, that it wasn't important enough. And I wanted something more hands-on, something in which I could really make a difference in people's lives. So while I was having this existential crisis, I was taking lessons with Andre. He was my ballroom dance teacher. And I started to teach on the side for free. And I've always been a teacher. I've always really loved teaching people. And that's what I loved about academia as well. I love the teaching aspect more than the science itself. So I realized, one, I was really good at it. Two, I was doing it like I could do it all day long. And it was in the modality that I wanted to do. And so I had the guts to say to my Asian parents, by the way, I'm leaving academia. So I'm going to leave Harvard. And I'm going to marry my ballroom dance instructor. And I would like to open up a dance studio. And my parents, to their credit, said it's about freaking time.
Wow.
Because I think they knew my colors all along. Even though I was excelling in academia, I've always been an artist by trade, like in my soul. And I always needed to teach people. So the business started from a real purposeful love for dance as a modality, that is my communion, that's my church, and a real need to share it with people. And so Andre and I wanted to build this together. And that kind of led me to where I am today. And to this day, the students that I coach, I teach people of all levels. I teach competitive students. I teach students who have Parkinson's. I love that, you know, working with that clientele. I teach them how to trust their bodies again, and that's my neuroscience background. They really trust that I know how to take care of them. I teach wedding couples. I teach everyone. And I think part of it is I'm just opening up their own belief in themselves and their own relationship with their bodies. And they all walk through the door for a reason. They're all attracted to dance. And that's kind of, they're intrigued by it for some reason. And I helped develop that. I help them realize what it is that they're looking for in themselves and in dance. Yeah. So similar when we work together.
Yeah. I think, I mean, when we worked together, when you were talking about how even the little tricks that you did to help me remember steps, you would use certain.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, little mnemonics.
Yeah. I mean, I still, to this day, even, it's so funny because even to this day, like I remember those things, but also I remember Andre like snapping, and I was like, whenever I hear a snap, I'm like,
Andre,
pay attention again. So, it's so funny the things that you remember, but I enjoyed time there too. And that's, I think the way that you teach is, you are very good at teaching. You're very good at teaching. It made me feel, it was freeing for me as a student, like to be in dance, which I've done my entire life, and then being able to feel free again, being able to dance again, but something new, right? So,
yeah. I feel like the science background gave me a way of thinking of memory. And actually my dissertation was on individual differences, that most studies that are done are on an average, how does one do on an average, but the individual variability, like why do some people respond well to Tylenol but not others? Like why do some people remember this and not others? So instead of as a group, does Tylenol work better than Advil? I'm thinking, why do people differ? Why are we not exactly the same? Why do you remember dance this way, and why does someone else remember dance a different way? So I've always been intrigued by asking what makes us different, even though we have underlying similarities in the way we approach the world. And so when I teach, it's very, very, you guys lead how I teach. It's based on your reactions, the way your body's responding. Oh my gosh, your facial expressions. When I see I'm like, okay, pivot, do another example. Like if I see like one of you guys give me like the deer and headlight example, like I'm like, oh, okay, pivot. What do we need to do differently? Like Melinda's confused. And we're like, okay, we'll try this mnemonic. We'll try this way, you know, and it's just, right? It's just like when you start looking down your body, you're like, I have no idea what's going on. You as a teacher, you go, you don't like it when your students look like that. You don't like it when you're all of a sudden they're like, we call it paralysis by analysis, when all of a sudden you shut down. Yeah. But that's the wonderful thing about teaching adults versus kids. We don't teach kids. I think there are a lot of kids studios. So Firebeat uniquely, we only teach adults. And the reason why I love teaching adults is because I love helping people reclaim their fearlessness. Yeah. When kids learn everything, and they don't self-edit, they don't self-judge. They're like, yeah, and they don't care about looking stupid. They don't care at all. And they don't overthink things. If you taught kids how to walk the same way we teach other things like dance, like, oh, move this rib, then move this on this count, nobody would learn how to walk. Mm-hmm. There's something about the way Andre and I teach that is just, even though it's structured, that we have a lot of structure in our education and the way we were trained, the way we open you up is so much about intuition. It's about you trusting your own body. It's about you learning to not self-edit, to be brave, to, you know, to be that way, you know?
But it's to have such a balanced harmony of the way that you both teach, right? So
yeah, we're very different too.
technical, and he's all about, you know, the structure and hitting it and doing it in the right spots. You are, you know, the sexiness that brings in like how to move your body, how to, you know, move your arms, and the more like the freeing part of taking that technicality and turning it into the art form of it. So
yeah,
that works so nicely.
yeah, Andre and I make a really good team. I think because we are both united in the vision we want for our students. So it's not like I want to make one student a cheetah and he wants to make him more like a rhino. No. Like, first of all, you tell us what animal you are. You know, we always, you know, your anatomy, your personality, who you are, you tell us kind of what direction to go. So we have a very, as a business, okay, that's how our marriage has lasted, thank God. We have very similar visions for creatively what the business is about. When we competed together, what our own personal product is. It's like being in a boy band and everybody has to agree what songs you want to release. And like, you have to agree on this stuff, right? Yeah. And so thank goodness we're not fighting in like one direction or anything like that. Are they still together? No. See, I dated myself. I'm 40. I don't really know about One Direction. I was just trying to be cool.
I never liked them. Sorry.
I don't even know. I'm trying to relate to all different demographics, and I realize I can't do it.
They're right.
But we have the same end goal for where we want to take our students, where we want to take the business, and where we want to take ourselves when we were competing together in our product. I think what makes us different is we're dogged about the goal, but we're very flexible about how we get there. So it doesn't matter how we get there. I could be doing it the sexy way. I could do it the intuitive way. I can do it through analogies. I can do it through technique. We can do it through mechanics. We can do it through dynamics. We can do it through choreography. It doesn't matter as long as we get you to where you need to go. I don't care. I have to stand on my freaking head. So yeah, Andre and I complete each other in that way. And at least we agree for the most part where we want to take our students.
Yeah. And so tell me like about your space and how does it contribute then to your brand? Can you tell us a little about
that? So everybody out there, check out our website. You'll see a video of our beautiful space. Melinda was one of the designers who helped create it and bring it to life. But the physical location is a direct manifestation of Andre and my love for our craft. And it really feels like us, and it really feels like our love for each other and our love for dance. So we started off in this tiny walk-up, third floor walk-up. And the rent was $1,700 for like 1,000 square foot in the middle of Alston. Those of you who are in Boston knows it's a college place. And it served us really well for a long time. It's the third floor of a refurbished firehouse. So that's why we're called Firebeat. Andre and I are fire signs. I'm a Leo, he's Aries, and we were in a firehouse. So only a firehouse can contain two fire signs, let me tell you. It's very dramatic. Our life is very dramatic. Anyway, so, and it served us really well for where we were at the time. It afforded us the ability to travel and to compete because the rent was so low. And however, it didn't afford us the opportunity to grow. We were only teaching private lessons. We were only teaching competitive students. We were only teaching collegiate students. So BU ballroom dance team, Harvard ballroom dance team, like people who were competing were coming to us for privates. The space didn't allow for us to really reach beginners. So somewhere along the way, Andre and I spent one night, and we didn't even do it purposefully, Melinda. It was like legit, you know, those old school manifestation, write stuff on a piece of paper and it comes true the next day?
Yeah.
I was telling him how, as much as I loved teaching collegiate students, I didn't love the fact that our clientele was so transitory, meaning I felt like an ER doctor where I wanted to be more like a pediatrician. Oh, you got to get that computer charged, girl. Don't worry, I'll keep telling my story. So our students, because they were in the collegiate scene, they would switch partners all the time. They would go off to postdocs or they would go off to jobs. We would maybe train them for 2-3 years max. And it was always very heartbreaking to see them go. It was hard to build up a clientele. And Andre and I decided we wanted to build a community. And being in Alston and having that small space where we couldn't grow new people who've never danced before, it was no longer serving us. Right. So one night we just decided to play. We're like, okay, Dream, what would we want in the studio? And by the way, what I'm about to say is unheard of for ballroom studio, especially in the metropolitan area. I'm like, okay, I want abundant like on-site parking, abundant on-site parking. I think it would be amazing if we had 3 ballrooms, one that was almost competition size floor, and then 2 separate ballrooms where we could have group classes. By the way, this is very unusual because most ballroom studios is just one space and you have group classes and privates going on at the same time. I'm like, no, I was greedy. I'm like, I need 3 ballrooms. And I want a coffee shop in there that had smoothies and amazing like Buddha bowls. And, you know, we live in our studio. We want something healthy. So we wrote all of these things down. And the last thing I wrote is I want it to be in a place that values community, that cared about community. I knew nothing about Winchester. I didn't even know what Winchester was. And Melinda's actually from Winchester. She'll tell you a little bit about Winchester.
I didn't know anything about Winchester either
Did you?
No, I didn't even know it existed. And I had lived in Boston for almost 10 years. I had never even heard of it. It's so small, but you're right. The community there is what the first thing I noticed. You're friends with all of your neighbors, and the real estate there, every house is different. Every house is unique, which I think in Boston is hard to find. Most houses are white. They're all the same on the block. And the community is very so.
And what's great about Winchester is it's small. How small is it? It's tiny.
It's tiny. I don't think it's more than a mile radius. I don't think it's that very big.
So it's very small. It's actually like a town. And it's only 20 minutes away from Boston. So it has this amazing small town feel right next to a huge city. Knew nothing about it at all. And I never thought I would be someone who lived in the burbs, but here we are, and really glad for it, especially in COVID, and I have space in a backyard. Sorry, Melinda. But the next day after Andre and I wrote this list, we have a friend who's a realtor, a family friend, who's always known that we were looking for space, but not seriously, you know, kind of like that casual dating and someone kind of brings a friend and all of a sudden you're married to them. Yeah. So I wasn't even like actively looking, had no profile on Tinder, or like had no profile saying want to get married. No, like there was nothing about us that wanted to buy a property. It was just a strong desire to have a bigger platform, and income's our space. And we walked in, we got it for a really good deal. So we purchased it. We walked in, and Melinda, did you know what was there before it?
What was there?
An ultimate fighting gym.
Really?
Yeah, it was an ultimate fighting gym. And by the way, if you see our space now, it's like glamorous with crystals and like all feng shuied out. But before we went there, it was an ultimate fighting gym with a legit like targets and like bullet wounds and walls. I had to sage the entire space. Like we staged the entire space just to make it Firebeat, but and ballroom dancing glam. The owner was named Andre.
Really?
Yeah. So anyways, the space is a huge part of Firebeat's identity because it gave everybody who walks in, the way it's designed, the way it's feng shuied, the love that was put into it, and why we manifested it wasn't like we found a space and made it work. We asked for that space and it came. It was made for us. And when we walked in, a lot of the walls weren't, it was gritty. And I walked in, I'm like, this is it. Andre looked at me, he's like, are you on crack? I'm like, no, this is it. And you'll see the before pictures. I just knew. Didn't know what Winchester was, didn't know anything. And it was, yeah. And so the space, you've been there, everybody says it's a home. It has this sanctuary feel where you walk in. By the way, I have a huge amethyst that greets you by the door. I always tell my students, whatever is happening, leave it with her. And then on your way out, you can pick it up with her, but don't bring it in. I was like, and most people don't bring it. Most people don't take it when they go home, but they just leave it. She does a lot of work. We have to clean her all the time. This amethyst, like, she needs a raise.
The amethyst too.
She needs a raise. But every detail, to the wallpaper, to the way the ballrooms are named, to the flow, the way we thought about how students would flow between the rooms, everything, we were able to do it intentionally. So the real estate and the space, our dreams in the space went hand in hand. Mm-hmm. I don't think Firebeat could be where it was today without this actual physical location.
Yeah.
And Andre and me. I think it's kind of the holy trinity. I think it's me, Andre, and the space. And so it afforded us a lot. We were able to do big shows there. Everything is in-house. People walk in and people are like, this is a ballroom studio? We're like, yeah. And it's a sanctuary for adults because we don't usually have kids there. So adults come in for date nights. There isn't enough activity for adults. Everything is for their kids. And people want somewhere where they can go for a date night and dance, and in a wholesome place that's glamorous, that's luxurious, and at the same time super warm and super friendly. And I think that's what we created with Firebeat.
I think that the design when I was working with you on the design, I think that really is translated. The different elements, the fire, water,
the earth, everything.
Every room really is a reflection of that.
For sure.
It does feel, I mean, the main dance studio does feel like all of those elements combined. It's
really so good. If you walk into our space, for those of you who've never been there, it's 7,000 square foot. It's an open space, but we've divided into 4 quadrants. When you walk in, that first quadrant is the reception area and has a coffee shop. And to me, it's earth. It's where you get grounded. So that's the earth element. You get grounded. Everything is metals and woods, and our crystals are there. And it's just a place for you to find your earth first. And glamorous earth, of course, but still earth. And then when you look straight ahead, it's fire. It's Andre and I, it's our fire sign. It's our tagline is ignite your passion for ballroom dancing. Come on, it's like a fire spark. So it has to have activity, it has to have warmth, it has to have excitement. So down to the wallpaper, down to the, you want orange, but you don't want it to look like people are burning in hell. So like there's a fine line between warm and, so then that's the main ballroom, it's Boston Ballroom. So that's the fire element. Then we have Studio New York to the right, our East Coast. East Coast, also New York. And it pays homage to the fact that Andre is from New York. And so there it's all wind. It has, an amazing kind of air quality to that room. And it actually leads to the outside. There's a big service door that opens up, and we can open it up in the summer and people can dance on a beautiful dance floor with air coming in. So it has great air there. So that's East Coast. And on the West Coast, the long side, we have Cali, because I'm a California girl. So there, Melinda was tasked to design for cheap, which is a tall order, decorate a wall, I think that's 46 feet long. I was like, somehow make it look like Cali, and can't spend a lot of money at this moment, and also doesn't distract from the floor and the dancing. She came with the most amazing solution. It's this huge wave decal that's like a little abstract, a little Art Deco, and it hints enough to Cali without palm trees and surfers, and it's just enough to evoke water and movement. So thank you so much for contributing. We had the bulk of it, the design down before we met Melinda, but there were some key elements that, it's like the last earring, or it's the jewelry that kind of ties everything together. And she kind of put those pieces together for us, and it really, really tied the whole thing. So yeah, thank you. But our space is a huge part of our identity. So thank you so much.
Of course. I mean, we did a lot of elements too that you and Andre and I built.
Oh my gosh, never again.
I mean,
I know you loved it.
We did a lot of their retail shelving, industrial
Sure.
and built it ourselves. However, it has the glam of ballroom dancing. So there's a lot of
stoned everything.
Yeah,
everything was
a lot of ballroom dancing anyways. So those are incorporated in the retail shelving poles, which I know is crazy, but
I love them.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It turned out really well. And I think my favorite part of that space is in the main ballroom on that wall where you include all the words that stand for who you are and how you run your studio. And if people see that when they first walk in, I think it makes a big impact.
Yeah, I love that. So, so the real estate, I think the property isn't a static thing for us. For us, the space is its own living entity. And we have students who, during this COVID, we have staff. Shannon, if you're watching, hello. She drove by the studio just to park in the parking lot because she missed it.
Aww.
She missed home. She missed, and we have students who drive by and they miss home. And we have showcases when events end. Everybody's just hanging out in the parking lot or hanging out. Nobody wants to leave, like no one wants to leave. And I think part of it is us, but I really don't think so. I really think a lot of it is the actual energy of the space. It has great energy in it.
You are a big part of that. I think the energy of the space is a big part of it, but I think that the people who run it to make it feel like a family. I mean, I can't last time that for dancing, I've danced my entire life. This is the dancing with you was the first time that I would dance 2 or 3 hours a night. And I enjoyed it. I was excited to go there every night and dance for 2 to 3 hours. So I think a lot of that is the community that you've built in your studio too.
Thanks.
So I mean, knowing that this is such a, the dancing is and it's a physical part of who you are. How does this brand continue to thrive in a virtual world?
Yeah. So at the moment, it's surviving. We're working towards thriving. When COVID hit, and also before COVID, there are a lot of people who teach ballroom dancing online. And Andre and I have always been old-fashioned. We've always been someone who thought, one, we will never be replaced by robots. I think there's something romantic and there's something really natural and social about dancing. I think that's built into it. And we never even entertained the idea of doing virtual because you just can't substitute a physical touch. I'm sure everybody's like craving hugs right now. A physical touch, or for me to be able to move my students' bodies, or for them to touch me. They're touching me all the time because I'm like, hey, feel this muscle, feel this, especially for my kinesthetic students or my visual students. For my auditory students, I think they don't need me to be there as much, but still, I think people benefit a lot from being moved, like not emotionally, but like physically being moved. And I think that's why you loved dancing with Andre, was because there was a stability, a security, or the fact that when we dance, there's osmosis in our bodies that you start picking up. It is a conversation of bodies. And then COVID hit, right? And at first, the first week, maybe 2 weeks, we all thought this was temporary. You all think, oh, okay, this is gonna be a short-term thing. So I had my staff do other things like work on curriculum, work on other stuff. And we didn't really launch online anything. And then it started to dawn on us that this was going to be maybe a permanent change, especially for an industry that relies on contact. And I really believe in herd safety and mentality. So I am not going to risk my students, and I'm pregnant, so I'm not going to risk my future child unnecessarily. So this is going to be a long-term situation. When that dawned on us, we realized people needed dance in any form. Right. So at first, I was a little reluctant to do just my privates. So I did private lessons. And oh my gosh, I usually have a good sense of whether something's going to work or not. I totally surprised myself. I was surprised by how effective we were able to teach online. I think it's actually more tiring for me because I have to emote more and give more through camera. But some of the things my students are doing, I couldn't get them to do in real life. I'm struggling as a scientist to be like, why is this happening? Why are they getting better? I remember when we first started our private lessons, I had a verbal agreement with every student before my lessons. I said, don't do me any favors. Only take these lessons if you energetically feel like you are benefiting from this, that you feel like this is an equal exchange. I don't want you to think that, you are paying for all the kids who are paying for online colleges and they all feel gypped because it's not the same. Right. Yeah. I wanted to make sure, and every student, I'm like, 1, don't do me any favors. 2, if you're not getting the same out of it, just let me know. It's okay. I'm here in service of you. So every single one, after a couple lessons, like, what is happening? We're like, we have no idea. I would love to be able to tell you what it is. I think my theory is the following. 1, you're in the privacy of your own home, so you don't feel like other students are watching. You don't feel judged. You don't feel you don't feel the social judgment of it. So you feel more free, and I think your body opens up a little bit more. Second, I think a mistake with teachers, and I'm guilty of it as well, is that sometimes we skip topics too quickly. So we see that you've kind of gotten it, and then we will move on, assuming you will practice later. And we rely too much on moving you. So you are osmosis. So maybe you aren't able to do it by yourself at the moment. All of those things are out of the equation when it's virtual. You feel free, nobody's watching. 2, we repeat a lot more because I can't move you. 2, sometimes I'll turn the camera around. I'll say, you just dance like nobody's watching. Nobody is. And they just copy me. And then I'll turn it around and say, now move the camera so I can see you. So the learning is much more phasic, in which they get to try, which means I'm not correcting them on the 2nd or 3rd time. Maybe they would have done it really well the 4th time. But sometimes we correct too early. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out, but it's making me such a joyful process because I see that it's getting better. So I am confident now that we can provide private lessons to the same quality as we did before. We need to focus on different topics. Of course, students who don't have a partner who dance with us, we are their partners, they're missing the actual physicality of doing the partner dancing part. But they're able to focus on themselves. So I think about ballroom dancing like being in a band. You have to figure out how to play your own instrument. Sometimes you have to self-practice. And then there are things that you practice as a group, like you have to make sure you sing together, you're the same volume, you're playing the same song. That's important. Playing the same rhythm. So those things you can't do as much, but you can definitely work on yourself. Can you play the song better? Are you better at playing your instrument? And that will never, that will always be relevant. So it took us a while to answer your question. It took us a while to get to a point where we felt confident that we could teach good privates, and they were our existing students. Now it's a matter of can we evolve so that we can ignite someone's love for dancing if they've never danced before? Can we do that via the internet? Can we help some? Can you fall in love online? Do you have to kiss me? Like, do you have to go on a virtual date? I mean, do you have to go on a date with me? Can you fall in love with dance online is my question now. And that's to be determined. And that's what we're trying out the next couple months, because I think we can. We just need to find the best way to help people do that.
Yeah.
Because how did you fall in love with it? Do you think you could have done it online, or did it have to be in the space? Did it have to be with us? Did it have to be like the people around you? Was it the vibe? Like, what do you think?
I think it was a little of everything for me. I think it was the community I felt, the people I got to see every day. And I think that the touch of it for me, I think it depends on the person, right? Because I am an introverted extrovert is what I call myself. I need my time alone, but I also like that being
Social.
being social. So I think it was a little of everything for me to culminate my love for dance, although I have danced my entire life. But I think that physical touch and the community of being able to go somewhere and see people. And I think when you talk about, having your students sitting in the parking lot, just like wanting to be by the show, like I can understand that, because it becomes a home. And being away myself from you guys now for, what has it been, 2-3 years? Like I still miss it. I miss you guys, because you created such a community. And so taking an online class this last Sunday was just so wonderful. Like being able to, and hearing that you are able to teach, your privates online, and that people are doing just as well, it's encouraging to me, to want to be able to do it again, because once you find a community and a tribe like that, I think it's hard to replace that with someone else in a new city. So
yeah. So I guess stay tuned, we'll find out. But I feel like I measure, at least for myself, you can ask Andre the same question. Maybe he'll answer it differently. But for myself, I get a lot of joy out of my lessons in my group class when I hear and I get it. Okay, this sounds really bad, but I get it almost every lesson multiple times in many classes. I'll use a clean version of what I'm about to do, but I call it little like dance revelations, where you're like, oh, or you're like, oh, you're like, ooh, and then you're like, oh, and then like everybody just makes these squeal sounds, like, ooh, like they get like genuinely excited because they discovered something about their, like, oh wait, was that oh, like they get, you know what I'm talking about. Like, and then I'd be like, oh, I got one, oh, I got another one, and it gives me so much joy when people discover things in their bodies, or they discover something that is interesting or new, or they do something that they didn't know that they could do. So I've been getting those equally online as in person. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is because, I don't know, I can still see. People are surprised that I can still see all the details, all the minute mechanical things or energetic things, or they're surprised, even like a couple inches, like, oh, lower this hand. Oh, you're stepping this way. You know, just turn your head to the left. It'll help you balance better. Like they're surprised by actually how much detailed our feedback can be.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's missing is the osmosis piece. But I'm not any less observant online. Yeah, so there's
Try an online lesson to see, because I've never experienced an online lesson except for
yeah,
before COVID happened. It was, you know, taking exercise classes on YouTube, you know, but it wasn't a live session via Zoom for a class. So I would experience it to be able to answer that question, I guess,
yeah,
right? Because I've only experienced it being with you in
for sure.
yeah.
For sure. But I think the question is, even just catching up through Zoom, you're already getting a piece of my energy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of what it means for us to teach. I'm not teaching only your body. I'm trying to inspire your soul. I'm trying to teach your spirit something. And
Right.
so if you can feel me through the screen, if you can feel me online, and I can feel you, I can see the way your body moves, I can see your mood. I know how to modify it and mediate it. Not okay, by the way, I do not want to compare myself to the Chicago Queen at all. So do not mistake this comment. But Oprah did everything she did through a camera. She touched people's lives through a camera. She didn't have to physically touch anyone. And so I feel that when we teach people how to dance, it is more than just dance. We're teaching couples how to connect with each other. We're teaching people how to, for a moment, be present. For a moment, listen to music and dance like really nobody's watching. And we're teaching people who have had eating disorders to feel confident in their bodies. We're teaching people to have a positive relationship with the opposite, with another human being in partnership that is respectful, that is not sexual. We are teaching people so many things that is not just about dance. We're just using dance as our modality. You can learn these lessons through anything. You can learn it through singing. You can learn it through race car driving. You can learn it through helping people with real estate. If you are good at what you do, you are doing more than the actual service. You are making a difference in people's lives because there's a personal relationship to it. And if you are sensitive as a teacher, you actually know you're teaching more than just the steps.
Right.
So I think, and all of our teachers like this, people, and I think that's what made Firebeat part of beyond the space and beyond Andre and I, is we've attracted teachers who felt teaching was a calling, not it was a means to end because their own dancing career came first.
Right.
Because there are a lot of dancers who they're dancers first, teachers second. I left Harvard to do this, so obviously I love this. And face the wrath of Asian parents, okay?
That's brave itself, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of the story of Firebeat. And Andre has his own wonderful story about, we met in Boston when I was 28-ish, and he was also 28. So his whole life from Ukraine, dancing, and also from a family who wanted him to be a computer programmer. So he actually went to college for computer programming and said, I won't pay for your dancing. He didn't have parents who were very supportive of the dancing. And they kept saying, well, if you're a dancer, you're not going to get a real woman, or you'll have a hard time finding a real woman. So he brought me home. He's like, look, Mom, look that. But you know, it's not their fault. As immigrants, our parents, mine included, they just wanted us to have a secure living. And if you look at COVID now, ballroom dancing is not a secure living.
Yeah.
It is not. Like right now, if COVID were to open, or they would start to open, we would probably in the third phase. We're not necessary, and we have the highest risk. We're touching people. I get spit on for like on the daily when people sweat on me. And our clientele, because we teach older students, most of our clientele is 60 or above. A lot of them are.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh, and by the way, if you're still watching and listening to me ramble about my story, you can dance. Anyone can dance. If you watch So You Think You Can Dance or Dancing with the Stars, you can do that too. It's you find a teacher, you dance with them, and you, if you wanted to perform or compete, you do it with people your age category and your level. So the first youngest age group for adults is 18 to 35, and then the second is 35 to 50, and then you have 50 up, and then 60 up. So we have 18-year-olds, and we have 72 still dancing, and they all learned as an adult. They all learned. They weren't professional dancers. They weren't. So we always tell people, if you even had a tiny dream when you were young to dance, like come on in, and you got to reclaim it for yourself. You owe it to yourself to do it, because that part of you is not dormant. It's not dead. It's just dormant. And someone, you all need to have a chance to wake it up. Especially now with COVID, you realize the things that make your heart sing are worth exploring. And I think the beautiful thing about COVID is it's really made us evaluate what it is that we want versus what it is that we need. And there are a lot of things that I don't need, but I need to dance. I need to find a quiet place and move. I want to be with my students. I miss teaching. And you realize there's a strong need for me to have Firebeat, because it's part of how we give back. It's a part of how we communicate. It's a part of how we love. So, and it doesn't matter. It's not the survival aspect. It's for my soul. So my students are really important to me. And I think dance is really important to them. So this situation has highlighted it. We will still be here. We will still be relevant. In what shape, in what form, we don't know. But dance is about evolution. We are adaptable. I would like to be part of the Darwinian people that survive through adapting. Okay, I don't want some like weird tail that is not functional at the end of the day become extinct. No, we will pivot. We will adapt. So yeah, I think that's our story.
It's also very hilarious. And if you haven't
Oh.
through the interview, Ching, how can people get a hold of you if they are interested in taking virtual classes with you?
Yeah, so you can check out our website, www.firebeatballroom.com. You can call or text our studio number, which is 617-564-3473. You can find us all on Facebook and Instagram these days. Like, we're all kind of an open book. But even if you don't check us out, I can't tell you enough how important, if you are attracted to dance, that you find something in which you are moving your body to music. So if you're shy, start out with a Zumba class first, if that's more fitness is your style. I think that's how Melinda first started. But yeah, but the great thing about COVID is you can take all these classes now and not have to walk into a scary studio if that was what was holding you back. You can dance without other students looking at you. We have some wonderful classes. Tonight we have a class at 7:45 taught by Gerald. She's a spitfire. And it's called STEM Confidence. It's for all ages, but it is teaching women how to move in a way where it feels good in your body, that is not choreographed, but it's not strip dancing, it's not burlesque, it's not pole dancing. It is just how to move and get in touch with your body. And look, you can turn the Zoom video off. She doesn't have to see it. Other students don't have to see it. You can watch her. Like, you can be in the privacy of your own home in your pajamas. And there's really no reason. And if social is the reason why you want to dance. Keep in touch. When we open up, everybody's going to be coming out with a vengeance.
Oh, yeah.
So just stay tuned for that day. But in the meantime, get your rocks off doing anything you can where you're moving to music. Now, it doesn't matter if it's through Firebeat. It doesn't matter. Take your cat. I hold my cat sometimes and I just like dance with him, and Andre's dancing with the other cat. You just dance, for God's sake. Just freaking move and get it out of your system, and just, yeah, that's it.
Love
So
it.
even not with us, just dance everywhere.
Love it. Ching, thank you so, so much for coming on. It was such a wonderful like catch up with you, and also to have,
Yeah, it was so great.
and we can send people to your website. Is the schedule on the website for all of
Yeah.
the offer?
Yeah. So we, what's great is we have redesigned our curriculum. Okay. I'm still a nerd at heart. I still like the word curriculum. I still like the word pedagogy. I still love structure. So even though I teach in a very heartfelt way, everything to me still has to be structured and purposeful. So I know you can't take that out of me. I'm sorry. I still like lists. I still do. So we have actually redesigned all of our classes online so that we have virtual classes, and in the future we have studio classes. But the virtual classes are specifically designed for this format, and it's also designed for you not to have a lot of space. So as long as you have like 5x4 or a hallway, you have definitely space to do this. So we're not doing complicated choreography that moves. This is all specifically tailored for virtual learning.
Wonderful.
So I think you'll really enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I can find out about more classes myself. So,
and maybe I'll get a chance to see you more, even if it's online. I kept hoping you would come back to Boston, but hey, like,
I love it here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you found a home in Chicago, but hasn't this been really amazing in terms of realizing we could have been keeping touch all along?
I know.
Like, isn't it weird? Like, we could have been dancing together all along, and I was so rigid in me thinking it has to be in person. And then now I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be.
I mean, I'm excited to hear that you can do it online too, because I could have been still dancing this entire time. Who knows how good I would be right now, but
yeah,
we'll start now.
Hey, but you know what? That's the name of the game. For those of you who don't know, I didn't turn professional until I was 32. And I was competing against Russian girls who've been dancing their whole lives in Blackpool ever since they were 19. Again, I was a scientist first. And for another day, you will hear the whole journey. But the story is, it's really never too late. It's really never too late. If you're hungry for it because your soul desires it, you will find a way back to move your body. There really is it's never too late. Like, who are you comparing yourself to?
Yeah.
So just strap on those shoes again. You're like, no, not the heels.
Oh my gosh. So many injuries. I have so many injuries, but I still love it. So but thank you so, so much, Ching, for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me and letting me talk.
Yes. And I will put all the information for your studio onto this post. And I will be sharing it everywhere. So I'm
awesome. Thanks for spreading the love.
Oh my gosh.
I really appreciate it.
We will, I will see you probably Sunday for the next class.
Yeah. Awesome. It's going to be samba, your favorite. We're going to shake it. Yes. Well, we'll shake it. Again, you can turn the video off, girl. You can always turn the video off. Just don't hold back. Just shake it.
Thank you so much again.
All right. Bye, girl.
Thanks,
everyone, for staying tuned.
Okay. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.